Welcome back to the channel. My name is Ben. Today's video, I really wanted to talk about whether or not a coaching license is worth it. And in my opinion, I think it is. So in today's video, I got this question in one of the comments, whether or not a coaching license is worth it. And so I think there's a few ways you can look at this in terms of what's the value that you get from a license, the cost, and is it something you really need depending on the level you want to work at. And so I think that's the first one. Depending on the level you want to work at, coaching license, unfortunately, are one of the requirements. If you want to work in youth soccer at the grassroots level or a rec league, the bare minimum would be the grassroots license, or just kind of an understanding and a certificate that show that you are qualified to coach that. That is not saying that you are a good or a bad coach. I don't think a coaching license makes you a good coach or a bad coach. I think it is a tool that you can get to provide you with a little bit of foundation, and from there, that's when you have your own experiences, your actual coaching experiences, which will form the kind of coach that you will be. So depending on the level you want to work at, a coaching license is required. And I know that soccer, for whatever reason in the States and around the world, for the most part, it's one of these sports that a real license and badges are required in order to meet the minimum qualifications to either apply for the job, to be considered, or even actually to hold a position. Let's just look at the youth. So within youth, you've got rec, you've got club, you've got academy, pre-academy, MLS Next. You've got all of these alphabet leagues. Within each team, within each club, there's going to be some kind of qualifications. Generally speaking, and not, again, I think it really depends on who you know, but we'll get to that in a second. Generally speaking, the higher you go up into youth soccer, the more qualified in terms of a license you need. So if you were to look at, say, MLS Next or ECNL, some of those requirements require you to have a UEFA B or a USF B, which is a fairly high license in terms of the commitment to get it, the cost to get it. Again, depending on the level you want to work at, a license is going to be required just to meet the minimum qualifications. So if you take high school, for example, which is technically youth sports, a license may not be as much of a deciding factor for you to get a job. It may look good, but depending on if your athletic director knows what the licenses even mean. And for the most part, most athletic directors don't know the levels of the license that are out there for coaches. So yes, I think it helps you, but I wouldn't say it's a necessary requirement if you don't want to go higher in the sport. If you wanted to get to the MLS Next level, semi-pro, USL Championship, or eventually the MLS, yes, you need to have those licenses because you need qualifications, which is an A license, a pro license, a B license, whatever it may be. Younger levels, I think there's a standard that there should be, but I mean, it depends on who you know, which is the sad reality of it, which I think that moves into the second part. Are licenses worth it? I think so, yes, because every license you go to get, you end up meeting a lot of coaches, a lot of people that are going to be in the same area, the same field, the same kind of pathway, because they want to go higher. And that's not all the case, not all the time, but for the vast majority of it, we're all in the same boat. We all want to get to the highest level of coaching that we're able to achieve. And so every level you go through in terms of your coaching license, you're going to meet more and more people who eventually maybe will open up some more doors for you to get another job. And so I can think of some of my own experiences where I've met other coaches who have offered me jobs, who have allowed me to work with them, which has led to more positions or led to more opportunities, or has just grown my network, and eventually that has grown my understanding and my own ability to coach better. And so I think licenses serve as a great way to network and grow your relationships with key individuals. All of that needs to be taken with a grain of salt, but I think in the end, the licenses provide you with more opportunities in soccer. In terms of the actual education portion of it, are licenses important for how you coach? I said it in the beginning, and I'll say it now. I think every level that you go through provides you with a slightly different foundation, a slightly different toolkit, which you should just keep building the individual coach that you will be. That, I think, is really important to understand, because if you look at the grassroots level versus the D license, the C, and the B, they all shift in different ways in terms like, if you're working with youth players, how are you going to coach them? How should you set your license, your training sessions up, versus when you get to the B license, where it's geared towards the 11v11. If you get the A license, it's geared towards that professional level quality that you need to demonstrate. And so every license that you get, I think, adds a little more to your foundation. And then from there, you're developing your own philosophy, you're developing your own coaching style. And all of those are just, you're taking what the Federation is offering in terms of coaching foundation and coaching education, and you're applying your own little twist to it, keeping within the realm of what they're trying to teach you. And so I think that was my own experience with the B license that I finished last year. They gave you a lot of autonomy to really dictate how you wanted to approach the license. They gave you this kind of the structure of it, which means, complete this assignment, record this video, or whatever, but you got to pick the topic. You got to set up the field. They even let you use whatever graphic designing thing you wanted to use. If you wanted to use the learning, the whatever you want to call it, the resource center that the Federation has, you can do that. But if you wanted to use Sports Session Planner, you could do that. And there were a lot of coaches that used the iPad design because that's what they used on a daily basis, which gave them that individualism that separated them. And I think that's incredibly important. So are the licenses worth it? From an education standpoint, from a coaching standpoint, I think it offers you a foundation, especially if you're new or you're continuing to learn. I think it's great because it's going to give you some ideas of what's required as a coach, because it's more than just the X's and the O's on the field. It's more than just your tactics side of it. It's really the overarching side of a coach. And I think that's what the most benefit comes from the coaching license, is that foundation that it provides you. And then you're building on top of that foundation, and then you go higher and higher in the licenses. The foundation grows, and then you add on to that more, because let's be real, if you're getting an A license, you should probably be in that environment, or you have an opportunity to go to that environment. You shouldn't, and I wouldn't say you shouldn't, I would say if you're going to get an A license and you're going to be working with rec players, like, unless you're really passionate about it, that's great, but that doesn't really translate very well, where you can put more time and resources into what's the best way to grow rec players, what's the best way to grow the grassroots level. And it may not be what the A license is geared towards, which is the academy, the youth national teams, which is those MLS Next Pro levels. It's the almost professionals versus the rec players. To conclude, I think the licenses are definitely worth it, depending on the level you're at. So again, personal story, experience, whatever you want to call it. I work in the college game, and I think the B license and the A license is very much applicable to me in my environment and where I want to go with my own coaching license. So when the time comes, I'm going to be aggressively applying for the A license. It's expensive, but that's the reinvestment that I'm going to put into my own education and own growth as a coach, because I feel that what the A license offers is going to be important to me in getting to where I need to go next. All depends on the level. That's really what it is. I think the coaching license, you should evaluate it based on the level that you want to work at. If you have aspirations and you want to go bigger, get the licenses and then work your way up into those opportunities. If you're fine with high school, rec, grassroots, whatever it may be, getting more and more advanced license, I don't think is going to make you a better coach. Getting the real experience on the field, going through those situations, going through those tough times, that's what's going to make you a much better coach than having the B license or whatever, the A license, but no experience, no real tangible experience of working with the level that you want to work at. And so those are just my 2 cents on, are the coaching license worth it? I think you really just need to evaluate the level you really want to work at, and then from there you're going to go after those licenses. But then having real tangible experience on the field with the players, with different types of players, different ages, abilities, that's what's going to really mold you into the coach. And then you can build off of what the foundation that you get from the licenses. So I hope you enjoyed the video. As always, the card at the end of the video is my email. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Would love to help you out in any way that I can. Don't forget to subscribe, like the video, turn on notifications for future content. Enjoy the rest of your day. Peace.